Last time we took a proper look at the January 1958 Basho, a sumo tournament that rang in a new era for sumo. It had everything: close fights, a Yokozuna promotion, fierce rivalries, heartbreak, and a true champion. On day 14, Wakanohana claimed the championship, a tournament that truly fulfilled all our wishes. Let's briefly recap where we are standing right now. The January Basho has well and truly passed. The rankings have been shuffled and we are moving 2 months ahead to March. January delivered on every scale. Well, almost on every scale. This time 2 wrestlers will go to the wire and will face in a playoff match to decide the championship. Welcome to the Haru Basho 1958. Before we dive headfirst into the Basho, I will catch you up on all the wrestlers and standings. We will look at a day-by-day breakdown of the Basho in chronological order with every important and notable fight and maybe even some footage. And lastly, I'm going to present you with the results. Together we will enjoy the beauty and energy of a spring Basho. This is Japan. I've heard it's a marvelous place. And if we zoom in a little, we can see Tokyo. In Tokyo, 3 of the 6 Bashos are held every year, and every other tournament is held outside of Tokyo. Today we are going westward, to the great southern city of Osaka, to the Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium. We are truly in for a blast. As it stands, Wakanohana has been promoted from Ozeki to Yokozuna, after being runner-up at the closing tournament of 1957 and claiming a Yusho in January. Meanwhile, 2 of the previously 4 active Yokozuna retire, leaving us with 3 active Yokozuna, so besides Wakanohana we have Tochi Nishiki and Chiyonoyama. And at the bottom of the division we welcome 3 new faces, well, new to us. The rookies Tsune Nishiki and Kane Nohana, who will take their first steps into the top division, and more of a veteran Hyodoshi, who fought in the low Maegashira before, in the early 1950s, to moderate success, but now keeps yo-yoing between Makuuchi and Juryo. In fact, let's check out the Banzuke and the promotions in full. The Sanyaku have had a few rotations. Of course, Wakanohana is Yokozuna now, that makes Asashio the Ozeki one by default. Matsunobori set out but will fight this time. Kotogahama remains the Sekiwake one, he only accumulated 32 wins instead of the necessary 33. Wakahaguro hangs in there at his position. Wakamaeda claims Komusubi 1 with his borderline Kachikoshi, and we have 2 fresh Komusubi from Maegashira. And those are Kitano Nada, who survived the Maegashira 1 position, and Toki Nishiki, who swept the Maegashira ranks. I understand that having both Tochi and Toki Nishiki in the Sanyaku is a great setup for mix-ups, but just remember Toki Nishiki with a K is for K like Komusubi. Toki Tsuyama went all the way from Sekiwake 1 to West Maegashira 1, which I personally find a little bit drastic. Shimitsugawa didn't manage to clinch a winning record and joins him, and Tamanumi really fell from grace and was sent all the way from Komusubi to Maegashira 3. Remember, he got a really good beating by the Sanyaku. Runner-up Uchiyama has climbed from Maegashira 14 to Maegashira 2, which is fair. He has been a Sekiwake before, by the way, so he is in familiar territory. And overall, I think most wrestlers got a very, very fair treatment. Maegashira 7 was laying pretty vacant mathematically, so Hajimayawa and Iwakaze got a softer blow. Maybe Iwakaze's double Kimboshi helped the fact a lot. And actually a lot of wrestlers got shoved into the bottom spaces. Fukunoumi got demoted 1.5 spots further, and Koinose got a 3-spot additional penalty. So he would have landed on Maegashira 17, but for some reason he's on Maegashira 20. Tsune Nishiki, while a Juryo Yusho with 13 and 2 is impressive, got catapulted way up to Maegashira 16. Hyodoshi would mathematically not be far behind, but looks way off on Maegashira 21. And Kane Nohana just about scraped by on Maegashira 22, and he is the lowest ranked of the bunch. And my personal favorites Takanishiki and Hoshi Kabuto sit on Maegashira 17 and Maegashira 13 respectively. And audience favorite Araiva sadly had 3 more losses than wins and had an appropriate demotion from Maegashira 3 West to Maegashira 6 West. Who are this tournament's heaviest, tallest and freakiest wrestlers? Odachi weighs 180 kilograms, but he's out with an injury. He already had a pretty steep drop-off towards the tail end of January and it looks to be something serious. And previous second place Kagami Sato has retired. But with Matsunobori's return he claims the top spot at a heavy 154 kilograms. That's 339 pounds. And Kiryugawa returns as the lightest wrestler. Really, on the street you wouldn't think that you were facing a pro fighter. He sits at 73 kilograms or 160 pounds. To put that into perspective, that is not even half the weight of Matsunobori, even though 2 of the most massive wrestlers have already retired or dropped out. For height though, things stand unchanged. Uchiyama is about 1 large head taller than Takanishiki, our shortest wrestler, at 202 centimeters or 6'6", something like that. Again, think baseball star Aaron Judge or NBA player Scottie Pippen. And just for comparison, I tried looking up an NBA star with the height of Takanishiki, and there actually was one, a very short fella named Spud Webb. He was the same height as Takanishiki here, 168 centimeters, so that's about 5'6". And Takanishiki also rounds out the BMI statistic, thanks to his high weight and short stature, at a staggering 54. Kiryugawa also returns with his bang average 23. That's of course just looking at the extremes. Overall, the wrestlers in March weigh 117 kilograms, that's 258 pounds, measure 178 centimeters in height, that's about 5'10", and have a BMI of 37. Some new sumo prospects have arrived. Wakanohana is only 21 years old and our new youngest wrestler. He debuted together with hopeful Iwakaze. Hirosegawa remains a relic of a bygone era at 39 years old. Our roster keeps aging fast. The average age of the wrestlers combined sits at just below 30 years, with 13 years of experience on average. The distribution of stables hasn't actually changed that much. Takasago reigns supreme still, but Tokitsukaze has conceded second place to Dewa no Umi, because one wrestler changed divisions from Makuuchi to Juryo. Similar to the stables, the distribution of the birthplaces hasn't actually shifted much. The North reigns supreme by providing 9 top divisionists, 5 from Hokkaido and 4 from Aomori. The South is also very prevalent and generally the Rikishi come from coastal regions. There are actually a few more Juryo wrestlers who come from central Japan. And at this point no wrestler is being reported as born abroad, so we are dealing entirely with Japanese wrestlers. But we do actually have 4 locals from Osaka Prefecture with home field advantage. And 3 of them are in Makuuchi: Izumi Nada, Shimanishiki and Ononishiki. Let's see if any of them can make an impact and dive headfirst into the Basho. As per usual, the lowest ranked wrestlers have the honor of kicking things off. All the day 1 results are in this table and just for day 1 I want to look at every single fight. Winning wrestlers are denoted with a white circle and are in the left column, and losing wrestlers are on the right with a black circle. So for the very first fight, let's congratulate Wakanohana, who succeeds in his debut in Makuuchi and defeats Juryo visitor Fukuno Sato. Hyodoshi also feels the backwind of a fresh promotion and is bagging a win on day 1 against Ononishiki. So right from the get-go, the Osaka local has a very hard start. Even Tsune Nishiki comes out swinging and beats Yoshi no Mine. The mid-rankers exchange blows as per usual, and then we get to Araiva. He's already getting a win against Sekiwake Wakahaguro. And then, just a few places up, Tamanumi, who was woeful against the Sanyaku and was really struggling in January, defeats Ozeki Matsunobori. Now this could well be because the Ozeki is still nursing an injury and just had to return to try to keep his rank, but on day 1 we can never really know. That means 2 Sanyaku have already lost out. Luckily, Komusubi Kitanonada has a good stint against Maegashira to Tochi Hikari, and if we scroll down to the bottom here, we can see that the Sanyaku seem very much fine against their Maegashira opponents. Wakamaeda, Kotogahama, Asashio and the two Yokozuna Tochi Nishiki and Chiyonoyama defeat Tokitsuyama, runner-up Uchiyama, Wakasegawa, Futatsuryu and Anenyama respectively. But I left out one fight by our newly promoted Yokozuna. A Yokozuna's debut can set the tone for an entire career. Remember, Yokozuna don't get demoted, so this will always be the last stage of their journey and their legacy lays within their own hands. On day 1, Wakanohana faces Maegashira for Shinobuyama. He has a head-to-head record of 8 wins to 3 defeats. And I think this is a softball schedule for sure. They haven't faced any other wrestlers so far, so who knows what their form will be, but Shinobuyama has enjoyed a small promotion by 3 ranks since January, so things are actually looking up for him. If you don't know who is who, don't worry. Wakanohana starts on the left and Shinobuyama on the right. I have ordered my tables in a way so each side represents the respective wrestler. Not just for now, but for all other footage I'm gonna show as well. So let's kick things off. Wakanohana comes in with unusual tactics and short thrusts, pushing Shinobuyama back forcefully. But at the Tawara, Shinobuyama resists masterfully. Wakanohana manages to fend off a counter, but his hips are turned awkwardly. Shinobuyama grabs the Yokozuna, and honestly it's a very awkward matchup. Wakanohana is putting in a good fight, but in the end he's ultimately pushed out of the ring. So Wakanohana loses on debut and gives up a Kimboshi Gold Star. Shinobuyama will be very happy. Wakanohana seemed dominant at first, but I think Shinobuyama had Wakanohana blocked from reaching the belt actually. And in the last phase of the fight, Wakanohana again tried to grab it, but he just couldn't. Still, it was very unusual to see a man of that caliber not being able to perform his usual sumo. Huge props to Shinobuyama, this was a well-earned Gold Star performance. Admittedly, the first few days are always a slow burner as we assess where everybody stands. While the Sanyaku are busy beating up the Maegashira, Asashio is facing his first test against Komusubi to Toki Nishiki. And that's Toki with a K for Komusubi, not Tochi Nishiki, the Yokozuna. I promise that's the last time I will explain it. And the test didn't seem to be that hard for Asashio. Toki Nishiki has already lost on day 1 and now he also lost on day 2. The Ozeki comes out of the gate strong with 2 wins. Day 2 brings us some fascinating matchups. We have the biggest age gap between Grandpa Hirosegawa and a man so young that he was only 1 year old when Hirosegawa started competing in professional sumo. That man is Oikawa. On top of that, we have the youngest total matchup in sumo between Kanenohana and Atagoyama, who even together are just a few years older than Hirosegawa is on his own. And in both matches the younger Rikishis managed to grab the wins, which is especially important for Kanenohana, who desperately needs every win he can get. Because a losing record would mean he goes down straight back to Juryo. We have arrived at day 3. And we had very few highlight bouts on account that the Sanyaku is a bit smaller and will battle each other much more coming in week 2. So let's just check in with everyone. 2 Yokozuna along with Ozeki, Asashio and Sekiwake Kotogahama stand undefeated. Wakanohana has recovered after his awful start and is standing at 2 wins together with Komusubi Wakamaeda. The numbers for Matsunobori, Wakahaguro and Kitanonada are much less flattering. Each of them has just 1 win, and then there's Toki Nishiki. Yeah, he better get his act together. And this is also the day that sees 2 supermassive Rikishi collide. Uchiyama bags his first win against Ozeki Matsunobori. With that, we can certainly infer that Matsunobori is suffering some kind of issue. I don't have footage of the fight, but I would be curious if the struggle is specific to big wrestlers or if it's something entirely different. I can only speculate. I admit we had a real dry spell, but on day 4 we finally have a highlight match with footage again. Maegashira 5 Anenyama against Tochi Nishiki. Anenyama has been served with nothing but losses against both higher and lower ranked opponents. And Tochi Nishiki has flattened all his Maegashira opponents so far and has won 10 out of 12 matchups against Anenyama. So this is a lopsided battle to say the least. At the Tachiai, Tochi Nishiki tries an evasive maneuver, but Anenyama seems prepared. Both try to reach for the belt, but Tochi Nishiki can't quite get it at first. I don't think he expected this kind of resistance. He drives Anenyama back to the edge, but Anenyama counters and throws Tochi Nishiki to the ground. Anenyama wins by Shitate Nage. This earns Anenyama a gold star and he wins the bout, putting him on the board. If he can keep this level of sumo up, he can turn his fortunes around for sure. Tochi Nishiki must know how thin the margins are at the top. A loss like this cannot happen and he needs to be nothing short of perfect from here on out to stay in the Yusho race. Kotogahama meanwhile is battling Gold Star winner Shinobuyama. Shinobuyama's schedule has been brutal so far and there's absolutely no shame in slipping up against an Ozeki. He seeks to establish his form. Kotogahama leads the head-to-head 9-5. Let's take a closer look at the fight. At the Tachiai, Kotogahama looks almost caught off guard. He seems to be struggling against Shinobuyama, but he quickly adapts. He tries to go for the belt and makes a neck pull. He shoves Shinobuyama to the side and out of the ring, a desperate move that all but saves Kotogahama from embarrassment. Shinobuyama drops to 2-2 and Kotogahama's record remains absolutely spotless. But it wasn't pretty by any means. Of course, Anenyama against Tochi Nishiki is a huge upset, but apart from that, no result stepped out of line. A few Maegashira wrestlers have started their streaks. Osegawa and Tsurugamine impress with 4 consecutive wins and no losses. But more worryingly, a bunch of upper Maegashira have yet to win. Futatsuryu, Iwakaze, Tokitsuyama and Wakasegawa are all winless, but their schedule is probably very difficult. Ono Nishiki has no excuses though. He sits at the very bottom and as it stands he will get demoted back to Juryo. And Tokinishi's stint at Komosumi isn't looking any prettier. Remember, Sanyaku streaks are only counted starting at 5, so tomorrow we will truly see who is stepping up for the Yusho race. And with a heavy heart I have to report that Hyodoshi is out with an injury. Look, the guy has been to Makuuchi before and has had his time in the Maegashira ranks. I can't imagine his aging body is taking the tightening schedule very well, and unfortunately he won't return. Only has that 1 win from day 1 and 3 losses and will go down. And sadly he will never ever return to the level of Makuuchi. I have respect for anyone who makes it to the top division, even if they never realize their true potential, and the same goes for Hyodoshi. He fought in the Maegashira ranks for a good while in the 50s. His time has come. And unfortunately I have no real highlights today again. Originally I wanted to show an Asashio match, but it is wrongly labeled on the official Sumo channel, so I'm coming up empty. Let's jump straight into the other special matches. Tochi Nishiki is going up against Wakasegawa. They have both debuted before the start of the Second World War, and together they are the matchup with the most experience we will see across the entire tournament. Tochi Nishiki may have 4 years less experience, but his sheer power steamrolls struggling Wakasegawa. And subsequently, for some kind of reason, the 2 greenhorns also meet. Oikawa and Wakanohana have only started with sumo in the early 50s, and they now meet in the Makuuchi division. Oikawa takes away the win, and this happens to be not only the least experienced matchup, but also the youngest matchup. Just for reference, Wakanohana wasn't even born when Wakasegawa began with sumo. And lastly, Yasome against Kiryugawa could just be a regular street brawl, if only judged by the weight of the 2 foes. Yasome is higher ranked though and in better form and 20 kilograms heavier. He claims a victory over featherweight Kiryugawa. The well of losing streaks has dried up. Only Futatsuryu, Iwakaze and Wakasegawa remain winless at 5. And we have a good mix of Sanyaku and Maegashira on 5 wins and 0 losses. And those are Chiyonoyama, Koinose, Kotogahama and Tsurugamine. And of course Asashio, who I would have loved to show you winning against runner-up from last time Uchiyama, because I can only imagine seeing those two colossuses clashing. Well, sadly we have to keep imagining, because I don't have the film. On the 6th day of the tournament we have a really tasty highlight. Chiyonoyama stands undefeated in Tamanoumi after going a stellar 15-0 in late 1957, then getting mauled by the Sanyaku, now making them all slip up. And sure, the record is leaning heavily in Chiyonoyama's favor, but maybe Chiyonoyama is just due. We already have seen 2 Yokozuna give up a gold star in very unexpected fashion. This really would be a spectacular win for Tamanoumi. Let's check out the clip. And from the get-go, a nice block from Tamanoumi. They really try both to establish their grips. There's a little bit of a shoving. Chiyonoyama tries to yank Tamanoumi, but he is escorted out of the ring. It looked way more controlled than it had any right to be. I can't believe what I'm saying. It's a gold star for Tamanoumi. In a sense, he has the worst behind him, and in week 2 he will face Maegashira wrestlers who he has done pretty well against in recent months. And it is not like he fought entirely bad in January, there were those glimpses and that spark. Maybe he can put it all together again finally. So this concludes the story on how every Yokozuna gave up a gold star despite performing well overall. And we have some more Sanyaku struggles to account for, because Kita no Nada has by no means an outstanding record, but it's still enough to beat up Matsunobori, who faces huge trouble in honoring his Ozeki title. And after we've already seen the most experienced wrestlers facing off, we now have the oldest battle. Old-timer Wakabayama defeats Methuselah Hirosegawa. They are 74 years old when taken together, and I can't help but respect the amazing commitment to the sport. And in this March, it's really a tournament of the streaks. I mean, look at this list, it's ridiculous. Everyone is either winning a whole bunch or losing a whole bunch. And apparently after days 1 and 2 some runs completely shifted course. Asashio, Kotogahama and Tsurugamine are still rolling on 6-0. Chiyonoyama had all the resources in the world to get there as well, but his streak got snapped of course. Wakanohana somehow hasn't lost since his debut and is on a mini redemption arc. And that's just the Sanyaku. There are some other surprises peppered in here. Kaisan, Tsunenishiki and Yasome, who I hadn't really on my radar, but they are still up here. And with so many well-performing wrestlers, it's only natural to have a bunch of duds. Dewa Nishiki, Hajimayama, Yoshinomine, and weirdly Wakanohana's foe on day 1, Shinobuya, who, remember, spoiled the whole debut. They all sit on 4 losses in a row. And even more depressing, Futatsuryu, Iwakaze and Wakasegawa all have no wins at all. They are the sad mainstays of this segment. And of course Tamanoumi upsetting Chiyonoyama has to be mentioned here. It is one of the defining bouts of the day, if not the tournament. And I have some very unfortunate news. Hirosegawa, the lightest man in the Banzuke, has dropped out as well. At least he has put up enough of a fight to not get demoted, and remember back then in those old days when you missed a few matches in the Basho, they weren't really counted. Hirosegawa is up there among the oldest wrestlers and maybe his age is just slowly showing. And the last day of week 1 starts us with a good one. A classic Komusubi against Yokozuna matchup. Wakanohana knows this fight against Kita no Nada quite well, and he's in better form, ahead in record, and is overall the favorite, and he's very angry. He wants that redemption from day 1. Let's roll the clip. Wakanohana blocks for a while and they exchange grips. This is the Wakanohana people are used to seeing. Get the opponent to settle in some false safety, give them no opening, and then bam, wank them around. I mean, the explosiveness is off the charts. This is the Wakanohana we like to see, and this is why he's called the devil of the dojo. No more upsets, the Yokozuna have arrived. Wakanohana goes 6-1 and 10-2 in the head-to-head. Kitanonada is on an uphill battle again and will face more Sanyaku coming the next few days. Now things are slowly ramping up. We had a few more Sanyaku battles. First of all, the other two Komusubi have faced off against each other, and Waka Maeda just knows what it takes to succeed on this level. And Toki Nishiki clearly doesn't have what it takes and is defeated. And if you thought day 6 was streaky, it just got worse on day 7. All the trends just got extended. That is safe for one. If I scroll to the very bottom here, you can see that Tsurugamine's streak has fallen to Ohikari, who himself is putting together something big. But let's go down from the top. We have got perfect 7-0 records still for Asashio and Kotokahama, and I imagine the schedule makers must be salivating on the prospect of matching these two against each other. And on 4 consecutive wins we have Gold Star winner Anenyama, who really turned his tournament around, mid-ranker Fusanishiki and bottom feeder Maenoyama. Wakahaguro sits on 5 and Wakanohana on 6, salvaging his debut. My audience darling Araiva sadly has lost 4 in a row now, and he's just one part of a bigger conga line of underperformers. That's Kanenohana, who incidentally started very well, Kiryugawa, Kuninobori, Uchiyama, the runner-up from last tournament, and Shimizugawa. And even worse, on 5 consecutive losses we have Hajimayama and Shinobuyama. So 1 Gold Star winner in the winning streaks, 1 in the losing streaks. And lastly, Iwakaze is still hoping for a win. Like even after 7 days, a whole week of battling, he couldn't rake in 1. And on his rank of Maegashira 7, this is very unusual. He isn't in the joy, he should be battling downwards, looking at weak opponents, just can't get it together. And likewise Wakasegawa has no wins at all, he's getting stomped by the Sanyaku, also he is in very bad form, but at least my guy Futatsuryu managed to escape this hellhole. And we are beginning to enter some of the more strange Maegashira matchups, considering the large gaps in ranks. And it is apparently a very good day to be at the bottom of the Banzuke. Atagoyama and Ononishiki both get wins against mid-rankers. Surely Hoshikabuto and Yoshinomine should perform way better here. Week 2 is approaching fast. Let's do a quick recap. It is an incredibly streaky basho. After day 3 some clear trends have emerged and the top Sanyaku apart from Matsunobori are really strong. And on the flip side the upper Maegashira are just extremely weak. Tamanoumi looks scary again, Asashio and Kotokahama have avoided any missteps and will now have to prove themselves. Weirdly the Yokozuna have given up 1 gold star each, but clearly they aren't willing to donate any more wins. This must be the basho the Sumo Association always dreams about, when the top rankers are the top performers. And then we have people like Kaizan, Maenoyama, Fusanishiki sprinkled all in between who could really turn things on their heads. I can't wait any longer, let's head straight to day 8. Kotokahama enters the second week with an unblemished record, and there are some really good guys here in his lineup he has defeated. The Sekiwake is experienced and I'd imagine he is pissed off a little bit at least, because for so many bashos he has performed, brought in double-digit wins, and he's still sitting on Sekiwake. Today this ought to change. He has to prove his worth against Waka Maeda, the strongest Komusubi. And historically, Kotokahama has had Waka Maeda's number. And take a look at the schedules here. They have faced almost identical wrestlers, with the key difference being that Kotokahama is probably very happy to not have faced Tamanoumi and actually defeated Tochi Hikari. And those are basically the only differences, so let's jump into the fight. They're just setting up here. And it's on. Kotokahama instantly snatches a right hand grip and fends off Waka Maeda. It goes back and forth. Waka Maeda tries hard to get his grip and tries to pull free. And when he does, he's suddenly upright and Kotokahama uses a well-timed Tsupari attack to push Waka Maeda out, winning by Tsukidashi. Now where does this leave us? Waka Maeda is now 5-3 and not all hope is lost. But Kotokahama is the real deal though. He goes 8-0. Who can catch him now? Well, according to my highlights charts, at least 2 Yokozuna are hot on his heels. Chiyonoyama beats Kitano Nada and Tochi Nishiki defeats his almost namesake Toki Nishiki. And it's an almost comically bad day for being a Komusubi. Also, Asashio still undefeated against admittedly lower profile opposition. Wakanohana is likewise building up an impressive stretch of wins. Anenyama and Fusanishiki extend to 5, Shio Nishiki joins the winners with a streak of 4 wins, and Wakahaguro's streak got cut short by Tochi Hikari. And now, finally, even Iwakaze has found a win. And on the last possible day, he averts an early Makekoshi. Araiwa, Kuninobori, Shimizugawa and Yoshinomine all sit on losing streaks and should consider learning from their mistakes as well. Considering how few streaks are still going on, relatively speaking of course, I'm happy to see many wrestlers turn their fates around. That's just the magic of the second week in sumo. Hoshi Kabuto is on the receiving end of an upset by Ono Nishiki, who despite his losing record fights valiantly, maybe with that home field advantage. But the real story here is Matsunobori, who again and again fails to course correct. We know that even injured wrestlers pull through on sheer experience, but the Ozeki seems to have trouble with even that and grants Wakasegawa his first win. Matsunobori shouldn't lose this fight and is deep in the weeds. So we have 2 wrestlers who avoid Makekoshi and 2 Sanyaku who gain their desired Kachikoshi. No matter what, they have secured a winning record at least and their ranks are safe. But these 2 have much higher ambitions. It's the 9th day and Kotogahama's first Ozeki test. Will this be an upset for the ages, and weirdly this will be an Ozeki upsetting a Sekiwake, or will this go exactly as we expect? Consider this, Matsunobori has been stumbling and bumbling his way through the tournament and even the head-to-head is in Kotogahama's favor. I don't really smell an upset here. Okay, let's check it out. Matsunobori smartly tries to defend against Kotogahama's grip but eventually concedes. He may not look like it, but the Ozeki can work the belt. Kotogahama bends his hips away. If Matsunobori gets the right outside, he's in his preferred position. A strong lift brings Kotogahama to the edge, but Kotogahama flexes his muscles and swings all of Matsunobori's 153 kilograms around and wins by an amazing Uwatenage. I feel like just by watching, this fight was exhausting. So much power packed in just such a short amount of time. If this is how Matsunobori lost all those other matches, maybe he just has bad luck, because he made it look way closer than it had any business of being. But we're here now, Kotogahama has still yet to lose a match, and I don't know if he can even be stopped. He has also shown a wide variety of techniques, great defense, great offense, and very few consistent points of weakness. This tournament might just be it. Let's check on the other highlights. Asashio is still not facing any Sanyaku opposition, but the 3 Yokozuna have, and they are all succeeding, breathing down Kotogahama's neck. But this means for the Komusubi it is not looking good at all, and even Wakahaguro, who is on the Sekiwake spot, is starting to have problems retaining a winning record against such fierce opposition. And the streaks are slowly decreasing. Every day we have a few less, but there are some constants. Asashio has also extended his streak to 9 wins. And remember, he's very prone to slip-ups. But maybe there's just something in the power water this Basho, or maybe it's his buttery soft schedule. But I can tell you this much, he won't be facing any Maegashira opponents anymore starting on day 10. Anenyama is still riding that gold star high and is on 6 wins along with Fusanishiki. And Tochi Nishiki has recovered, he made it all the way here finally with 5 wins. And on the flip side, Yoshinomine remains bottom of the barrel with 7 losses in a row, and Araiwa and Shimizugawa follow suit with 6 losses each. And we have exactly one very soft upset with Miyanishiki defeating 6.5 ranks higher Shio Nishiki. And look at where we are now. All 3 Yokozuna claim Kachikoshi on the very same day. And this is while Iwakaze, Wakasegawa and Yoshinomine all enter damage control mode with their Makekoshi. And here we are, it's the last third of the tournament, it's day 10, and finally somebody has thought of actually matching the Ozeki against other Sanyaku members. Now granted, Asashio has cleared a very weak Tokinishiki early on, but he has been on cruise control ever since. And the next stop is Komusubi Kitanonada, who just faced all 3 Yokozuna back to back, looking fully demoralized on 6 and 3. Really, he couldn't even scratch out a win against those Maegashira who were in passable form. But at least he got that win on Matsunobori. I mean, that's gotta count for something. It's basically been a free-for-all, but it's an Ozeki battle. The head-to-head is as expected. Asashio regularly wipes the floor with Kitanonada. So, here we go. No early start, Asashio just invites Kitanonada in his arms, and from there on the Ozeki applies exactly 0 pressure. And there it is, that dreaded slip up. Asashio falls on his back like a turtle and somehow Kitanonada claims the win. I can't really explain to you what happened. His focus just slipped. This absolutely isn't Asashio from the other 9 days, who looked energized, lively and focused on that one single objective. On the official Sumo video channel, there's a small montage of all his wins and he made it look so easy, but in a kind of twisted way, it's an almost expected lapse in concentration. And this means we sadly won't see 2 undefeated wrestlers with double-digit wins face off against each other. And speaking of which, what are the other results? At least Kotogahama held up his end of the deal, defeating the other albeit weaker Komusubi, Tokinishiki. And that guy is sure to drop out of the Sanyaku by the next tournament. Wakahaguro is slipping further, Wakamaeda is still holding on, but is piling up some losses, and Matsunobori performs as expected in his condition. And the 3 Yokozuna are still rolling on as usual, and it's a 4-way tie on the 2nd place. And we have a very notable matchup, not only because of their very bad records. Remember, there is no tank bowl here, nobody has anything to gain from losses. Our prospect Iwakaze faces old head Wakasegawa. These two have the biggest gap in experience we will see in the entire tournament. Look at the debuts, they are so far apart, almost 20 years. And this time Iwakaze claims the win and Wakasegawa is truly spiraling out of control. And we have a whole bunch of wrestlers enjoying massive winning streaks. In descending order we have Kotogahama on 10 spotless wins, Wakanohana on 9, he hasn't lost since day 1, Anenyama and Fusanishiki on 7 each, Tochinishiki on 6 and Naryoyama on 4. Asashio's streak has been freshly broken and most losing streaks have been replaced by completely new faces. Hoshikabuto, Tokinishiki and Tokitsuyama all have 4 losses. And something strange is happening to Tamanoumi. The guy who almost defeated all the Sanyaku also now has 4 losses in a row against what should be the easier side of the schedule for him. And there are some other upsets we haven't even touched on yet. A bunch of the higher ranked Maegashira gave up wins when matched against similar records from lower Maegashira. Just quickly, Miyanishiki on Maegashira 18 defeats Naruto-umi, Shimanishiki on Maegashira 11 beats Maegashira 6, Dewanishiki and Maegashira 17 Takanishiki manages to beat Maegashira 12, Shionishiki. I think this is kind of like a test for the lower ranked wrestlers to see if they can hang with the bigger guys and if they can succeed against higher ranked opponents and maybe deserve that potential promotion. And we finally have some Maegashira wrestlers claiming their Kachikoshi, Fusanishiki and Tsurugamine. So they are guaranteed to move up in the Banzuke, or stay in their place at least. Futatsuryo, Hoshikabuto, Tokinishiki and Tokitsuyama all go Makekoshi, but hey, maybe their schedule will at least relax a little bit. And technically everyone with a 5-5 record would still be in contention, but I have narrowed it down to the top 3. This looks to be a Yusho bound for a Sanyaku member. Kotogahama had some tests but is yet to face some of the tougher opposition. Asashio has already slipped up, so the 3 Yokozuna will have to battle it out among themselves. Fusanishiki and Tsurugamine are next in line and the only Maegashira with a realistic shot. And lastly, the current demotion picture. Since Hyodoshi won't reappear, his demotion is guaranteed and the other ones still have a chance to turn their fortunes around. But as it stands, Fukunoumi, Kiryogawa and local Ononishiki are all mathematically demoted. So here it is, the big fight, slightly dampened by Asashio's previous loss. But I can only imagine Asashio has been thinking about this fight a lot. And usually after a slip up he comes back extra strong, but with Kotogahama he might just run into a very formidable barrier. The head-to-head speaks in Asashio's favor though. Enough of the talk, enough of the speculation, let's just watch. And it's a strong tachiai. Kotogahama fends off Asashio, makes him almost stumble to the side, but he recovers and is on Kotogahama like a heat-seeking missile, pushing him through the ring to both sides, and now he has pushed him out. Kotogahama stands no chance against the sheer power of Asashio. This is just how quick it can happen. They are tied for the lead again. Asashio shows he is still in this tournament to fight, and with Kotogahama likely to face stronger opposition from now on, he has to be very, very careful. Neither of these can afford to slip up. And we have another top battle. Yokozuna Chiyonoyama takes on the best performing Komusubi in Wakamaeda. The head-to-head is unambiguously favoring the Yokozuna, who could tie for the lead. What will this fight have in store for us? At the start, Chiyonoyama jumps up strong and does straightforward pushing sumo. He keeps his body in front of Wakamaeda, who stands no chance of defending and is just simply pushed out. A strong, fast, powerful win. The Yokozuna is looking scary. And I gotta say, I really enjoy the brute force sumo we are seeing here in Osaka. And Chiyonoyama goes 10-1 and establishes a 5-match winning streak. Wakamaeda is licking his wounds and he has to be very careful to retain his position, going to 6-5. The other two Yokozuna are firing from all cylinders and each wins their respective bouts. Tochinishiki even defeats the Sekiwake Wakahaguro. And as expected, Komusubi Tokinishiki loses to Wakanohana and he really has to find his form, because he will not only get banished from the Sanyaku, he will get banished from the Joy. And on day 11, we celebrate the return of all our favorite streaks. Every single Yokozuna is on a roll. Wakanohana has stacked up 10 wins, and with Kotogahama falling, he leads the chart. Anenyama is on an impressive 8, and I don't think I've ever seen a Maegashira climb up this high. Hajimayama and Shinoboyama both enter the mix, with small comebacks from what looks to be otherwise run-of-the-mill average records. Let's just hope they can keep up their form. Kotogahama is one of the 2 unlucky Rikishi getting their streaks ended. A strong Kaizan has erased Fusanishiki's streak. And on the losing end, Tamanoumi, Tokinishiki and Tokitsuyama all climb to 5 losses in a row, while Fukunoumi and Wakahaguro enter the losers conversation with a streak of 4 losses each. And we have another 4 upsets in the Maegashira ranks. Komusubi Kitanonada, freshly after defeating Asashio, somehow loses to Maegashira 6 Dewanishiki, so he has gone the completely opposite direction. Araiva is clawing back some wins, making clear that he still aims to get back to the echelons of Upper Maegashira and beats Tochi Ikari. And Kiryugawa, who's ranked only at Maegashira 19, defeats a wrestler 12 spots above him in top underperformer Iwakaze. This is one of the largest gaps in the tournament. And lastly, Ono Nishiki is the second lowest ranked wrestler. He's from Osaka and he claims a win over the short but lovable Taka Nishiki. And naturally today we have a few more Makekoshi than Kachikoshi. Fukunoumi, Kuninobori, Shimitsugawa and Uchiyama, the dream of a winning record ends right here. And Uchiyama has to be one of the bigger disappointments of this tournament. He wasn't even over-promoted and he has shown more bite against Maegashira opponents in the past, but this time he just stumbles at every opportunity. But also, congratulations to Anenyama and Naryoyama for securing a still relatively early Kachikoshi. So they are up there with the best Maegashira and deservedly so. And yes, this is the actual top 3. It's a real traffic jam. Let me scroll a little bit. We have a 5-way tie on top composed entirely of absolute freaks in nearly perfect form. 3 Yokozuna, an Ozeki and a Sekiwake, all on 10 wins and 1 loss. Nobody has 9 wins, but 4 Maegashira sit on 8 wins, and I don't think they have a realistic chance, but it's nice to see them up here. Now the demotion picture is actually getting interesting because we have some slight changes. The rookie Kanenohana has entered the conversation. both Maegashira 22, who are the lowest ranked Rikishi, both have 5 wins and 6 losses. So it's an absolute nail-biter on both ends of the ranking charts. This is it, on day 12, the big rivalry fight, a redemption fight in a sense. Wakanohana and Asashio have climbed the ranks in tandem, they have an equal head-to-head record and are both in exceptional good form. And remember, last tournament Asashio almost spoiled not only the Yushu for Wakanohana but the Yokozuna promotion. Asashio is one of the very few wrestlers who has enough strength to withstand Wakanohana's attacks even down the stretch in a longer fight. I really can't stress the impact of this clash enough. Not only for the personal gains, but also for the standings right now. Remember, one of them will pull ahead in the Yushu race and pull ahead in the head-to-head record. It's literally for all the marbles and glory. Enough talking, let's just enjoy the fight. And it's a strong tachi-ai. Wakanohana can more than hang with Asashio's power. Asashio is driven back but escapes for now. Wakanohana tests the lateral movement but Asashio doesn't budge. His hand is slowly approaching Wakanohana's belt. Asashio's hips are rotated a little bit unfavorably. Wakanohana sees the opening. He drives Asashio backwards and hooks his leg and they crash out of the ring. A Sotogake finish. Now truth be told, I had to watch it a couple of times to actually catch the Sotogake being performed. Asashio has now lost 2 times in 3 days. Wakanohana looks truly unstoppable again. And he has successfully played spoiler, got his revenge, reclaimed the head-to-head, and he will be a very happy man coming this evening. And in fact, all 3 Yokozuna win, as Kotogahama loses against a very strong Chiyonoyama. The former front leaders Kotogahama and Asashio both have revealed weaknesses and the Yokozuna pull ahead. Also, Tochi Nishiki gets a win over Matsunobori, who is now Makekoshi and Kadoban on top of that. And lastly, Wakamaeda defeats Sekiwake Wakahaguro, and it's nice to see a Komusubi hanging in there as well for once. And everyone but the 3 Yokozuna have lost their winning streaks. Anenyama has lost to a formidable Tsurugamine, and Wakanohana somehow still hasn't lost since day 1. Meanwhile, Tamanoumi just can't find a win anymore, and 6 of his 7 losses came back to back to back. Sekiwake Wakahaguro can't catch a break either, sitting on 5, and Maegashira Tsunenishiki and Maegashira 17 Yasome have 4 losses in a row apiece. And the top Maegashira have some infighting as it seems, as Kaizan breaks Narioyama's streak, and they are both sitting on a respectable 8 and 4. And for some reason, the single-digit Maegashira keep gifting wins to the double-digit ones. Most outrageously, Maegashira 9 Naruto-umi loses to Maegashira 17 Takanishiki, who himself was upset quite recently. And with that, Kaizan, Mitsuneyama and Wakabayama secure strong Kachikoshis. And sadly, Araiwa, even with that small uptick in form, couldn't save himself and grows Makekoshi. And I think it's safe to say that Matsunobori must be nursing some kind of injury. The Ozeki has fallen to 8 losses. And lastly, Kiryogawa and Naruto-umi have their 8-win dreams crushed as well. The contention picture has been wildly jumbled in the past days. 3 Yokozuna on top, Kotogahama and Asashio slowly pushed to the wayside, and then a whole host of 8 and 4 Maegashira. I didn't even realize Oginohana made it up here on Maegashira 21. And the demotion picture looks more and more bleak. We have 5 wrestlers potentially going down. I don't know if we even have enough Jurios to fill all those spots. But as it stands, Ono Nishiki and Kanenohana both lost today, and for Kiryogawa and Fukuno-umi it may actually be a close affair, but they are just not strong enough at this point. It is 3 days to go, and Kotogahama is facing the next Yokozuna. Since the competition has ramped up, he had to give up his perfect record and he seems to be kind of in the weeds. Tochi Nishiki though has a different body type to Asashio or Chiyonoyama, less lanky, shorter limbs, and he relies more on belt techniques. Not that that actually has helped Kotogahama in the past, seeing that their head-to-head record is still 4 and 14 in favor of the Yokozuna, but I think his defense against shoving and pushing was a particular weak point. So let's jump right in. This is one of those fights that's a bit too lengthy to show in full. The two are already well engaged into a belt battle and I will just start from here. If you don't know who is who, Tochi Nishiki has his back turned towards the viewer and Kotogahama's face is buried deep in Tochi Nishiki's shoulder. Both have been at it for a while and look kind of gassed, but Kotogahama, he manages to hang in there. He slowly walks back the Yokozuna, who in desperation tries multiple lifts, but in the end he is crushed out and Kotogahama wins by Yori Taoshi. Let's make this brief. We all saw it, I commented on it. Tochi Nishiki should totally win the belt battle. He had his preferred grip, it was just a question of stamina. Maybe, just maybe, all those wins in a row have taken a slight toll on the Yokozuna. So this means Kotogahama is back, he's winning again, and looks like he can beat anyone. When I first compiled all the statistics, I was sure this was going to be a Yokozuna battle at the front, and somehow on day 13 all three Yokozuna lose. It's like the worst synchronized dance you've ever seen. In the heat of the moment I wrote into my script, this may as well be equal to the day the sun disappears. Even Matsunobori out of nowhere wakes up and defeats Chiyonoyama. Chiyonoyama, he has looked amazingly strong in the last few days. And sure, Wakamaeda is doing well, but well enough to defeat Wakanohana? And on top of that, Asashio somehow doesn't slip up, even though it would be the perfect opportunity. This is the day any of these guys could have secured a sole lead, and they all let it slip through their fingers. I'm pretty sure this has to be one of the wildest days in sumo. Anyways, let's move on from here. I can't stand to look at it anymore. Uchiyama have definitely featured less in this tournament, but I'm glad to see them up here. Now, despite Uchiyama being a high grown man, the stakes weren't actually that high. They both have a losing record. Uchiyama loses again. He's kind of a big disappointment at this point. So let's look further down at Koinose defeating Takanishiki in the shortest matchup in this tournament. 170 centimeters, 168 centimeters. I would have loved to see this one because whenever the short guys meet, it's a very energetic battle. And our streaks chart got completely destroyed. All the Yokozuna have fallen and that leaves Mitsuneyama and Yoshinomine with the streaks. They're starting again at 4. Don't know why Yoshinomine decided to find form this late in the tournament, but good for him. Maybe he can build up something from here. Or maybe his schedule is just weak. Anyways, we still have some losing streaks going on. First we have Mai Noyama on 4 despite a strong start. Tsune Nishiki and Yasome on 5 and Sekiwake Wakahaguru is still struggling with 6 losses in a row. That means he went from a 5-2 start all the way to Makekoshi. Truly a bleak outcome. And talking of surprises, here are some of the upsets. I think the biggest of the bunch was certainly Matsunobori. Defeating the Yokozuna, that was huge. Anyways, even Iwakaze is collecting the odd win here and there against the only wrestlers performing even worse than him. And considering how well Tokitsuyama did in January, this is just very disheartening to see. And Ohikari really has no business letting this one slip, but I guess Mitsuneyama is just in stellar form. It was still a very good day for Kachikoshis, Koinose, Miyanishiki, Oginohana, Shio Nishiki and Wakamaeda all securing winning records. And then we have Yasome, Wakahaguro, Kanenohana and Ono Nishiki go Makekoshi. And for the latter two, this means a surefire way to go down to Juryo. Here we are, the contention picture. Now it has been slimmed down a little bit, but we are on a 5-way tie on day 13. So in the next 2 days, it's all about keeping a cool head. And shout out to my Maegashira guys here, I don't think you have a chance, but Fusanishiki 10-3, well done. And lastly, we have a slight change in the demotion picture. Previously, both Maegashira 19 were listed, and while Fukunomi has lost again, Kiryugawa has climbed out of the pit for now. It's the second to last day, and we have a showdown at high noon for the first tiebreaker in our 5-way split. Who will prevail? Honestly, who knows? Both wrestlers are built kind of similarly. Chiyonoyama is also prone to occasional weirdness, and maybe Asashio is more of a pusher. Head-to-head record is almost equal, a very chaotic matchup, which couldn't come at a better timing. Okay, let's take a look. Chiyonoyama with the instant pull-down attempt without committing to the henka. Asashio is defending really well, he's absolutely relentless. He doesn't let go of the belt and Chiyonoyama is out of answers and gets forced out. Yorikiri by Asashio. I think the fight looked way more one-sided than it actually was. But these are the margins of this very tournament. If you're only 99% committed, the dude with 100% commitment will win over you. Without further ado, let's start the clip. Both are set in position, the Gyoji calls to go on, both are tugging. Wakanohana resists the final throw. He manages to push back Tochinishiki to the edge. Tries to throw him, but in the end, he uses the moment Tochinishiki is off balance and pushes him out. A classic Yorikiri win. So no tricks this time, just really good timing. That means that Wakanohana is now the sole leading Yokozuna. And his debut Basho looks to be a great success. Meanwhile, Kotogahama got off with an easy win today, defeating Wakahaguro. So you can do the math, this means there's a 3-way tie on top. And just to quickly touch on Tokinishiki's awful form, he lost to a very reinvigorated Matsunobori. And I'm also very happy to see Wakamaeda continuing with his steadfast pace. And also today we are celebrating the biggest rank gap. Mai Noyama may have faced some real struggles, but he goes 8-6 defeating Maegashira 5 Ohikari. They are separated by 13 ranks, so by 25 wrestlers between them. And this also means Ohikari's fate will be decided on the last day of the Basho. The winning streaks are all with the Maegashira at this point, because the Sanyaku continued to snatch wins from each other. Kaizan and Mitsuneyama look particularly impressive. Yoshinomine got an early Makekoshi, but since then he has done nothing but winning, and Koinose is silently climbing up there as well. And I think Kanenohana had a real shot at staying in the division, but now has lost 5 in a row and will surely tumble down the order quite a bit. We also have Tsunenishiki and Yasome continuing with 6 losses each back to back, and Sekiwake Wakahaguro is up there with 7 losses. And of course bad streaks can happen, but the Sekiwake shouldn't have the most consecutive losses in the whole division. And the Maegashira 20s are having a decent turnout. Atagoyama and Koinose upset Tsuninishiki and Shionishiki respectively. And of course there's the insane gap between Mai Noyama and Ohikari, which we already touched upon. Oh, and I really hope you didn't miss this segment on rare and new technique. I didn't omit it or anything. The tournament just used very conventional approaches. Just statistically speaking, the January Basho was a complete and utter outlier in the amount and density of winning techniques. But we do have one new/rare technique in the Waridashi. That's the upper arm force out performed by Kaizan against Wakabayama. With that, Kaizan has truly battled his way into my heart. Cause believe it or not, he is the only wrestler who will employ a new, never before seen technique in the entire Basho. And that's saying something, because even the guys in the Sanyaku are playing it kinda safe. And we have another 4 Kachikoshis, which came just in time by Dewanishiki, Mai Noyama, Shimanishiki and Shinobuyama. And sadly also 4 Makekoshi from Kitanonada, Compact Stature Takanishiki, Tsunenishiki and puzzlingly by Tamanoumi, who after plowing through the Sanyaku just folded against much weaker Maegashira opponents. 5 people remain in contention and it's the usual bunch. I will try to condense all the information for you. Just to recap, Asashio, Kotogahama and Wakanohana lead with 12 wins and Shionoyama and Tochinishiki are in second on 11. Asashio will face Tochinishiki, Shionoyama will face Wakanohana and Kotogahama is up against Komusubi Kitanonada on the final day. So what can realistically happen? We could get a very unlikely 5-way playoff. But realistically, Kotogahama should wipe the floor with Kitanonada. Both Shionoyama and Tochinishiki can realistically win their fights, which would make Kotogahama the sole winner. But the most likely outcome is a 2-way or 3-way playoff. And every single Yokozuna will want to be a part of it. On the top everything's open, on the bottom most things are done. The demotions you are seeing here are all but confirmed, since Kiryogawa keeps winning and is out of the demotion picture, and now it's just a question of how far will these guys get demoted. Highlight match number 1. Asashio takes on the Yokozuna. One wrong step and for either man all dreams crumble. Tochinishiki has a slight edge in the head-to-head, but what does history mean at this point? Let's just jump right into it. A good start by Asashio, he gets a good grip. Tochinishiki can move Asashio around a little bit, but the Ozeki with much more power. he manages to push out the Yokozuna and Asashio wins with a Yorikiri. That means Asashio has clinched at least a playoff spot. I gotta say, the last few days have really been all about who can push and shove the hardest. On that front, Asashio is sure to win every single time. And it's like I've said before, on a good day, that man can beat anyone. And this wasn't just one good day, he has had 13 good days. Every other wrestler should tremble with fear. And with that, Tochi Nishiki misses out on a top 3 spot, 3 losses in a row, which is very unusual for him, but he can change the past. He was very low on stamina on the very end, and it's time to catch a break. Highlight number 2 is Chiyonoyama against Wakanohana. A win from Wakanohana means a playoff, but the odds are stacked against the freshly promoted Yokozuna. Chiyonoyama is one of those few people on this planet with a positive record against him. Then again, he has lost to both Ozeki, or maybe he has just been saving himself for this very moment. We will see in the last highlight fight of this tournament. They get ready. And they clash hard. It's a short scuffle, but Wakanohana can secure an outside grip. But Chiyonoyama's body is too long. This spells disaster. Wakanohana just can't reach. Wakanohana holds steady with one hand. Nobody budges. A few yanks, but no success. Chiyonoyama in the better position here. And they're both stalling. Trying to recover, trying to see who's stronger. The Gyoji gets nervous. Chiyonoyama, he yanks Wakanohana around and out. I gotta catch my breath first. What excitement. Great technique by Chiyonoyama. Both Yokozuna end the tournament with a respectable 12 wins and 3 losses. But that's a usual for neither of them. At least for Wakanohana, it shows that as a Yokozuna he will only grow stronger. So the future looks bright despite this minor setback. And as expected, Kotogahama wins against Kitanonada. This means we have our final results. No Yokozuna advances. Instead, Sekiwake Kotogahama and Ozeki Asashio will meet again in a playoff match for all the glory. And on a side note, Matsunobori throws his match against Wakahaguro. A match between two wrestlers who well and truly have given up. First of all, we have some more amazing rank gap. I have no idea who thought it would be a good idea for Oginohana to face the blazing hot Kaizan, and if anything, Kaizan should be tested against upper Maegashira. It's like you expect it to go, and sadly I have to report another Araiwa loss. He has salvaged a bit of the tournament but loses to Kiryugawa. And honestly, Kiryugawa himself has recovered well, all things considered. Kaizan concludes the Basho with 5 wins in a row, Tochi Ikari with 4 and Yoshinomine with 6. Kanenohana leaves to Juryo with a dry spell of 5, Tsune Nishiki stays up, even with the 7 losses. Kanenohana leaves to Juryo with a dry spell of 5, Tsune Nishiki stays up but with 7 losses in a row, he can't be very happy either. Mitsuneyama and Anenyama face off in a truly amazing Maegashira match, and Anenyama manages to snap Mitsuneyama's streak, landing them both on 10 and 5. And we have a bunch of upsets. The single-digit Maegashira continue to disappoint. Atagoyama, Fukunoumi, Kiryugawa, Miyanishiki and Yasome collect wins against Osegawa, Tsune Nishiki, Araiwa, Hajimayama and Iwakaze. All matches have a 10 or more rank difference, and having this many at once is truly stunning. But in a kind of way it's still expected, because the single-digit Maegashira were really bad this tournament, and day 15 has been throwing us all kinds of curveballs. All matches have a 10 or more rank difference, and having this many at once seems truly stunning, but it is also kind of expected on day 15, considering firstly how the single-digit Maegashira have been performing, and secondly we have seen so many curveballs today. This isn't really surprising. Atagoyama, Izuminada, Ohikari and Tochi Ikari managed to scrape Kachikoshis on the last possible day, while Hajimayama, Oikawa and Osegawa just missed the mark. And the demotion picture is unchanged, 4 wrestlers will go down, and it's not close for any of them. And I was lying earlier, we have one more highlight match to watch. It's the main event, Asashio vs Kotogahama. They are the last wrestlers in contention. Let's go into a playoff. Here it doesn't matter what your record, what your form or what the head-to-head record is. They are both here to win it. Asashio is an experienced wrestler with multiple Yushos already, and Kotogahama is finally in his position to collect his first Yusho after a string of really well fought tournaments. In their own right, both deserve to be here. So, just one question. Who can bring it home? When I start the clip, you will see that Kotogahama is a bit more nervous than Asashio. And on a side note, this playoff match is for some reason officiated by the 13th Tamanusuke, if my research is correct. I just adore this Gyoji because his movement patterns are just amazing when you watch him. So both wrestlers are setting up. You can really see it in their demeanor. Asashio cool as a cucumber, Kotogahama more nervous. Let's go! Quick slap! Right to the belt. Asashio drives Kotogahama back, he attempts a throw, but Kotogahama has walked out of the ring. Asashio wins commandingly and clinches the Yusho. The crowd goes nuts in the background and it's a fitting conclusion to the tournament. Let's see where we ended up. By popular demand and to make the records a bit easier to read, I restructured the winning statistics. A line graph sadly looked a little bit bad, but I plotted all the wins on this nice bar chart by wrestler. And it's all sorted by rank, so the Yokozuna here are on the very left. And then it goes to the right in descending order, all the way down to Maegashira 22. And I did some color coding. Asashio here is gold, he won the Yusho, but Kotogahama got a lot of special prizes. This includes the Technique Prize and the Outstanding Performance Prize. And Wakamaeda is a very deserved winner for the Fighting Spirit Prize as well. He has had a really good stint at Komusubi. The Yokozuna all fall just short disappointingly. If you look at it in the Banzuke, the west side of the Sanyaku is just depressing to look at. And the rest of the Sanyaku is just kind of depressing to look at. Tamanoumi, Shinobuyama and Anenyama claim well-deserved gold stars, even though Tamanoumi in particular seem to have faced additional challenges in week 2. And you can really see this big dent in the upper Maegashira ranks. But there were some very impressive performances. 11 and 4 for both Maegashira 8 Kaizan and Maegashira 9 Fusanishiki, and 10 and 5 for Maegashira 14 Mitsuneyama. 3 tournaments in a row, that Maegashira 14 spot has delivered now. Maybe there's something special about it. And let's see if the home field advantage actually played out. Shimanishiki is in the middle, he secures 8 wins, pretty good performance. Izuminada is in the lower 4th, he also clinches 8 wins and a Kachikoshi. And yes, we have featured Ono Nishiki a few times so far. None of the reasons were good, he goes down to Juryo. So overall, was there a home field advantage? I don't think so, but good performance by 2 of the 3 Osaka guys. And coming up from Juryo are a few names I personally find difficult to pronounce. And they are in order of rank: Fukunosato, Hanenishiki, Amatsunada and Kyoenami. Hanenishiki and Kyoenami are runners-up alongside with Kiyonomori and Wakachichibu. And for Kiyonomori I gotta scroll down way down here to Juryo 18, so all the good records are either way at the top or way at the bottom. And one more word on Wakachichibu. I think he has the most amazing Shikona, so I'm really glad to see him win like this. Remember, last time he was the lowest Juryo ranked wrestler. He keeps getting records like this, he's sure to climb the ranks really fast and end up in Makochi for sure. The actual Juryo Yusho winner is Togashi with a 12 and 3 record all the way down in Juryo 22. Maybe he's another wrestler with a really stellar career. And with so many people in second place, Juryo was almost as exciting as Makochi, I imagine. But let's turn our eyes away from the Juryo division over to the winning techniques. As I stated before, January 1958 was one of the most technically dense tournaments in sumo history. In the Sanyaku battles and especially towards the ends of the tournament, it was clear everyone wanted to go back to the very foundations of sumo: shoving, pushing, thrusting and straightforward belt throws. I didn't even see any Henker attempts in the highlights, so half the chaos was probably averted by people just not dodging the opponent. And there's 2 things you can see in the bar chart here. First of all, there were fewer techniques and the proportions are a little bit different as well. The Hatakikomi slap down was almost at the same rate. I have plotted the top 5 used techniques and bunched everyone else into the other category. The Hatakikomi slapdowns were their own category in January, but they are completely falling out in March. And in its place, Sotogake has wiggled its way into the statistics. And the relative amount of Yorikiri is slowly climbing up. This time it was performed just over 25% and has cleared the quarter mark, so every 4th match was a Yorikiri. And lastly, the Uwatenage has grown quite significantly from 6 to 9% of the time. And of course, we had fewer matches this time, that's not a surprise, but look at this black line here. This line depicts how many percent of the 70 or so available techniques were used in this tournament. And it shrinks disproportionately to the amount of matches from 59% to only 46%. Just in case you were wondering why there was only one single rare/new technique, they were all quite literally used up in January. All other techniques that haven't appeared in January are the really exotic ones, like I'm speaking techniques that don't appear in years of pro sumo. If I remember correctly, sumo will slowly decline in its technical complexity, it will have an uptick in the 70s or so, but the January 1958 tournament remains a complete outlier in every sense. Okay, let's talk about what happened to some of the wrestlers. Just a quick reminder, 4 wrestlers are leaving the Makuuchi division and we get 4 newcomers from Juryo. And I'm kinda still sweating from all the excitement. We had so many Yokozuna in contention at all points and somehow they all found a way to lose, in their own little weird ways. Mostly they tripped over each other's feet. But this shouldn't diminish the great performances by Asashio and Kotogahama. They really exposed some of the Yokozuna's glaring weaknesses. And I'm particularly happy for Wakanohana. I think this was a great tournament and a great debut apart from the very first fight. And lastly, I know the Kadoban rules were a little bit different in the 50s, maybe a little bit more lax and less rigidly enforced, but Matsunobori is very close to losing his Ozeki rank. So from now on he has to tread really carefully. And another wrestler we need to urgently discuss is 2nd place Sekiwake Kotogahama. He was so close to getting it over the finish line. But if nothing else, he's looking at an Ozeki promotion at the age of 31. And I think he will bring some much needed consistency to the rank. And he has really been on the fringe of getting promoted so many times before. He has so many consistent double-digit winning tournaments and he was denied so many times. I think if everything clicks, he can get a Yusho and maybe even a bit at the Yokozuna run. But he will need to improve. And remember, he is over 30 years old now, which is considered old by today's standards. And this is maybe a good timing to speak about sumo demographics. As you've already seen, the Makuuchi division was huge and there were only 4 or 5 tournaments each year, so way fewer opportunities to actually climb that ladder. So it wasn't unusual to see someone in their 30s reaching their peak. But a bit of a shift is on the horizon. A lot more young wrestlers will climb the ranks faster and faster, and there will be a very weird transitional period coming soon. But for now, everything looks rosy, the top guys are performing, and it seems like every tournament is just an absolute classic. Let's move on to the winner. When I prepared my video for the last tournament, I had to learn about 50 new wrestlers. And I read articles and a few sources on each one. And the first thing that these articles mention about Asashio is how hairy he was. Thick eyebrows, chest hair, and apparently very popular with the women at the time. He wasn't born there, but somehow this place seems to be very special to him. He actually debuted in Osaka in fall of 1948, he got his Juryo Yusho here, and even when the tournament in Osaka was moved from autumn to spring, it remained his fortress. So it wasn't even a seasonal trend, it's just something in the air in Osaka. Maybe his feet just stick better to Osaka clay. And apart from his success in Juryo, he got 3 additional Yushos in Osaka back to back, and 2 Kimboshi when he was in the Maegashira ranks. And this tournament always sticks out. Normally he got by on like 8 wins, barely Kachikoshi, but in Osaka he always sports double digits. And there are now 2 very interesting developments. First of all, he can translate his wins to other places. Not perfectly, but better. He actually ramps up his winning rate outside of Osaka. But secondly, his body is slowly aging and he's starting to hurt. Clearly at this point it's not enough to deter him from refining his sumo, but it's a trend to keep an eye out for. But I will stick to my word. On a good day, he is the best wrestler in the roster. So officially, he is actually on a Yokozuna run. So will he build on this win? Will the Yokozuna strike back? Maybe there's a complete outsider who will win next time. So join me when we look at the May Bar Show in the next video. Thank you for watching my video. Here you can see some credits, some sources, everything I use to make my videos. And it's a good time to speak a little bit more openly, less scripted. First of all, thank you for the great response to the last video. I was actually flattened by the support, by everyone subscribing and commenting. It was a very surreal experience, like getting a shout out from the Sunday morning sumo show and from JJ and Goose, which are people I admire for their work. And then I gained over 500 subscribers with one video. Like, imagine, this is how many views I maybe expected on the high end to make. I got so much amazing feedback in the comments, and I'm really trying to improve, incorporate it all, but every single comment just has warmed my heart. Thank you very much. If these videos quench your sumo thirst, feel free to subscribe or give a thumbs up. Those are always the two ways you can support smaller channels. It signals to YouTube that, hey, you want to see more of my videos, and they will land in your recommendations. You can also drop a few dollars on coffee and help me out, keep the lights on, maybe buy some better equipment. Every donation is greatly appreciated. Anyways, it's getting kinda late. Thank you for watching, and remember, there are people out there who really care deeply about you, more than you might even realize. See you next time.